So I'm Carol Hargret, and I'm the CEO of CDH Education, Inc. And we equip students to succeed in college, the workplace, and beyond. We have been in business now for over 4 years, and I've been in higher education as a professor and an administrator for over 35 years. And I'm still passionate about helping students succeed in college, the workplace, and in life. So join me as we discuss how to help students post-COVID to be successful. Hello everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Let's Talk Student Success. I'm Carol Hargret, and I hope to make this a place where those who want to talk about student success will find their community. I believe that we are at a crossroads in education in the U.S. and even the world, and it is imperative that we find ways to help students succeed in college, the workplace, and life. In this segment, you'll meet Dr. Amoy Reed. Amoy joined Broward College in Davie, Florida 18 years ago. She's currently the Dean of the Communication, and she was Associate Dean of Communication. She served 7 years as a Developmental Ed Reading Coordinator and an Adjunct Faculty Mentor. Check her out on LinkedIn. Now let's hear her story from Jamaica to South Florida. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Thank you. Well, I am a first-generation Jamaican. I came to the United States when I was 18 years old, and it was very different for me. Having finished high school in Jamaica, coming to America, I didn't know anything about the education system, and I didn't have much help in navigating the educational system in the United States.
So, why did you decide to go attend college?
I have a sister that was very much into education and always stressed the importance of being educated. So it was my dream to have a college degree. I made the decision because I knew that I wanted to have a better way of life and I wanted to be able to help my family, and I felt that getting a college degree would enable me to get a good job to be able to do that.
Okay, so to help your family and to get a good job. Were you confident or did you have doubts?
Not at all. No confidence at all. Like I said, I was first gen, so I didn't have anyone who had gone through this experience before who could guide me. So I was very, very doubtful and very nervous as far as navigating the educational system in the United States.
So then what then gave you the courage to go forward and apply and begin college?
So I think what gave me the courage was just wanting to make a difference in my nephew's life, my siblings' life, for them to see that, you know, through pursuing a college degree and getting that experience, that I could really help them, and it would help my family in return, because then I would be able to provide for them financially.
Provide for them. Now I want you to think back to your younger self. Think back to that very first year when you began college. What would you tell your younger self now?
Don't take everything so seriously. I mean, I was so focused on working full-time and navigating college that there may have been things that I could have, obstacles that could have been removed. For example, I had difficulties with math, but I never had the time to be able to go into the math lab to sit to work with someone because I was always working. I was just so busy. I had a full-time job. I think my younger self, it would have been, make the time to go and get the assistance that was needed at the time.
So then that's one of the things you would have done differently. What else?
I would have tried to explore different opportunities on campus, maybe join a club where I could be more involved in the campus life. I find that I was very much a stranger on the college campus. I went to classes, I did my assignments, I didn't really engage with many people there, and I was out. So it was just like in and out, almost as if it was a job, like a chore, where there was no fun in it for me.
And so today you are dean on a community college, a college campus. Considering that the obstacles that students are facing today, can you give 3 tips to students who are currently thinking about beginning their first year in college?
Well, the first thing, like I alluded to earlier, I would definitely say try to get involved. Get to know the resources that are available on your campus. Right now at Broward College, you'll see you have the SOS coordinators, the Seahawk outreach coordinators that you are able to go to and get help. You have the Academic Success Center where you can go to get assistance as far as helping, if you have problems with a test or something in particular, you are able to get assistance. And I think the second thing is learn good time management skills. It is of utmost importance that you know how to balance your time effectively to be a successful college student. And the third thing I would say is don't take yourself so seriously. Have fun while you go through your college experience.
And so, Dr. Amoy Reed, thank you so much. Now, as we end this segment, can you offer some parting remarks to this audience?
Yes, I would like to say that being from, I want to say that people would consider the circumstances where I came from to be poor, but to me, we were rich, we were wealthy. I didn't want or need for anything, but at the same time, we had no electricity, we had no running water, but we were happy, right? And so I want you to understand that no matter where you begin, it's not your beginning that matters, it's where you end. And so with hard work and perseverance, I can tell you that the sky is the limit.
So thank you so much for coming on Let's Talk Student Success today.
It was my pleasure.
Well, you're quite welcome. Thank you. In this segment, you'll hear from Davinia Osborne. Davinia is a 25-year-old entrepreneur who owns a company called Genie Writing. And Genie Writing is an online resume writing and marketing and media company. Check her out on LinkedIn. Now let's hear from Davinia.
I cannot stop giving Mr. Darrell Harris his props and his flowers no matter where he is. I will continue to thank this man until the day I die, because he was my DECA instructor, and he was the one who in high school introduced me to entrepreneurship and career development and interviewing skills and how to write a resume in high school. And because of that, I always just knew, and not even felt, I knew that I was ahead of my peers. I had people coming to me to write their resumes and help them with, interview prep and stuff like that from high school. And I was confident in going to interviews and being able to really properly sell myself and sell my value, because he instilled in us that we essentially are a business, whether you have a business or not, talking about how you sell yourself, how you present yourself, your strengths and your weaknesses, all of those things that originated from my experience with being a part of an entrepreneurial organization like DECA. So, I mean, whether you go on to have an education, like a traditional education, the 4-year college thing or not, I think just having an just having an entrepreneurial mindset and having an entrepreneurial education is just one of those things that will make sure that you always succeed, because you have the tools to know that you have the tools to basically create something for yourself. And so I'm just eternally grateful, and I can honestly say that I would not get as far as I have without having first started in high school and having that education, and then going on to go to ATC, Atlanta Technical College, and with Miss Karen Jurgens, and going through the business management program and learning how to build out a business plan, and learning how to build out a company, and learning about market research and business development, and all of those things. That was like really empowering, first and foremost, and how I even decided to start my business for Genie Writing, because we had to build out a business plan that was a part of our curriculum. And of course, it didn't necessarily have to be, it could be a hypothetical business, or it could have been. Certainly some students use hypothetical businesses, and some students use businesses that they felt they would start in the future. But I looked at it like, okay, this is my opportunity, because of DECA, right? I always wanted to be a business owner, but I just didn't know what I was going to do. But going through that course at ATC, it forced me to really sit down and think, okay, I have an opportunity to actually build out a business plan in real life, in real time. Let me apply it to a real business, right? So I racked my brain and I thought, okay, what do I do that I love? What can I do that I can get paid for? And what I came back to was writing. Like, I've always been into writing. I've always loved writing. People have consistently come to me for helping them with their writing projects, whether it's an essay or writing a resume, or just say, hey, look at this email and tell me if I worded it right, stuff like that. So I was just like, okay, let me do something in writing. And because we were learning also about resume writing and ATS, applicant tracking systems, and building out career portfolios. And this was what myself and my classmates were learning at the time. I was like, okay, let me start with that, because I already have that knowledge from high school, and now I'm building on that knowledge in this course. So let me start with resume writing. And it just went. And after that, being involved in BCEX, and
Could you just explain what BCEX is?
Yeah, the Broward College Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program. Basically just a program, a cohort of 20 plus business owners that have an idea for a business, that are in various degrees, various stages of their business, and just teaching us, using experts to really teach us how to properly build out a business plan pitch deck, basically a PowerPoint presentation version of our business plan that we can use to pitch to investors and get seed funding. So just going through that program, that was also very enlightening. And I mean, oh my gosh, like, just learning so much from that, and fully understanding true market research and how it's done, and going out, leaving the building and talking to people, and asking would-be customers, what do they want and what problems do they have, so that I can really restructure my business to fit their needs. I mean, that was critical. I mean, that was crucial. Like, those 10 weeks that I spent with everyone, interviewing 10 plus people a week, and doing research, and reading all these entrepreneurial books and articles. I mean, that was pivotal. That was pivotal, because it just taught me so much more about business, and how we can really make something for ourselves with just what we have, and just finding out from other people what their problem is and what they need. So I'm really happy for all of those experiences. And honestly, I feel like that's been my school.
Wow.
Like, I really feel like that's been my school. My school has always been entrepreneurship and business development. And you know, besides ATC, that was a 9-month program, right? But besides ATC, I didn't go to a 2-year or 4-year college, and yet I feel people are coming to me and asking me for advice about business management and business development. And I can honestly say I got a fast track version, you know, of that education, and I'm still being educated. I follow people that know more than me. I talk to people that know more than me. That's how I learn. I read books. I watch YouTube. Like, I interview people. I ask questions, and I don't feel like I'm missing out. I really and truly don't feel like I'm missing out. Now, it's a more circular way of learning all these things, but I'm so grateful for being a part of the the BCEX program, and that was free.
Right.
You talk about that. That was free. It was 10 weeks of life-changing information that was free. I didn't have to pay one dime for it.
Wow.
Okay, all I had to do was come and share my business idea and explain why I, had an idea that they should take over the 70 plus applicants that was applying for it at the time, so that I could be one of 20,
Right.
So I mean, when I think about my journey and my education, it's just entrepreneurship and business development and personal development as well. That's a huge part, has always been at the heart of it. And I am just so grateful for like all of the mentors that I've had, Mr. Darrell Harris, Miss Carol Jurgens, Nicole Hall, which was a nonprofit owner that allowed me, fresh out of high school, to be her administrative manager and work with her nonprofit that was also dealing with teaching entrepreneurship to students. That was something I was passionate about, and she saw what I was doing with DECA and really liked that, and took me under her wing and showed me the ropes. And because of all these people and all these experiences, I've never had to go to college. I always felt the pressure, definitely, being from Jamaica, and my mom has always been, education, have to come first,
I recently read an article that said that, when it comes to higher education, that we should stop kind of making it where you go to college first and then you get a career. What do you think about that?
So for the longest, I bought into that as well, like, and I felt really bad about, not following that route. But just looking back at my journey, I have to disagree. Like, it's just, first and foremost, very controversial statement coming, college isn't for everyone. Traditional school isn't for everyone. I genuinely believe that. And I just see like all the, especially like Gen Zers, like they are making waves without having to, school not even being a part of the equation. It's just people following their passion and finding a niche and branching out and doing and building a business for themselves and building a brand for themselves and being successful. So I see it happening with some of my peers and some of the younger generation, and I've had it happen for me where I haven't gone to college, and I've been, I've worked for the city of Sunrise as a city clerk intern, and I worked in the personnel department. I worked at a nonprofit as an administrative manager. I've worked for a school as a community liaison and a grant writer. And I've done all of these things without getting a traditional college degree. I don't have a college degree. I have a business management certification. But I've always consistently been able to sell myself because of that entrepreneurial mindset that has been instilled in me since sophomore year of high school. So, and just consistently building on that. consistently building on that and having mentors in that are entrepreneurs themselves and have, you know, consistently told me like, hey, you know, find something that you love and do it. Find something that you love and do it. And I'm not knocking education, I'm not knocking college, because I definitely, you know, I have to say that a lot of times I have been held back because people look at my, if they don't know me and they just look at my, you know, my portfolio, my paper portfolio, they say, oh, where's the, you know, where's the education, where's that, you know, where does that, you know, that's the question, right? So I know that I've been passed over in certain opportunities with that, but I do feel that even those opportunities that have been passed over, that was probably for the best, because every decision that I've made has led me to this point where I am a resume writer, I'm a content writer, I'm a grant writer, and I'm helping people who have PhDs and you know, and who have all this higher education, and yet they're still coming to me for assistance. And I say that just to say, you know, I that's without me having to go to school, and I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I'm consistently learning. I'm consistently, you know, making sure that I'm in line with industry standards, and I'm consistently going to workshops and learning from people who are, you know, have more years and experience in the game than myself. Like I'm very much aware that I don't know everything, right? Because who knows everything? And honestly, I like that, because my education is ongoing. It's consistent and it's always happening. So I know that was a very roundabout way to answer that question.
But thank you so much. You gave us a lot, and the audience, I think, is going to appreciate your take. Would you mind, and if you don't want to do this, this is fine, would you mind telling the audience your age?
I just turned 25.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is huge. So I'm going to ask you two final questions. First of all, considering the obstacles, you know, that students are going to face today, especially post-COVID, offer some tips that you think will help them be successful. That's number one. And then offer some parting remarks for the audience.
Okay, so as far as tips to help be successful, and we're talking about college students specifically?
Well, yeah, college students, but remember that college students could be the type you described yourself as going to Atlantic Tech. College students could be a community college. College students could be a university, whatever. Just think about it in that vein, and then give them some tips from your perspective.
Okay, so I would say, not necessarily in any particular order, but one of the things I would say is first of all and foremost, it's okay if you don't know what you want to do just yet. It's okay. A lot of people, you know, think that because they don't follow this really specific path that has been laid out for all of us, that they're failures, and that's just not the case. If you are 25 or 23 or 2019 or 30, 40, it doesn't matter, and you still don't quite know what you want to do, it's okay. Eventually it will come to you, and that will be that. Everything's in due time. The next thing I would say is just try to think about, what is it that you want out of life? Like, in the end, what is it that you want? Like, what's an ideal life for you? And it's not about the money or, like, you know, what you're doing specifically. It's just like, what do you want? What do you want to do? What feels most fulfilling to you? And I would just say, look into that, you know? So I think a lot of times we get caught up with, you know, what people expect us to do. I certainly was. And that leads to a lot of, you know, making decisions based off of, okay, you know, my parents are all doctors. So I'm going to go into, you know, I'm going to go into medicine because, I mean, that's kind of expected. And maybe you even think that's what you want to do. But then you down the line realize that you just spent 10 years pursuing this particular career, and you're not fulfilled in it. So don't make that mistake. Don't let anyone pressure you into any career or any educational field or anything like that. Just really sit down with yourself and consider, what is it that makes you feel happy? What is it that brings you joy? And find a way to monetize that. That's what I would say. And if you have a job right now, do a great job and get references. Please get references while you're at the job. Don't wait until things go left or you leave. The relationships can be so great while you're at the job and things are going great, but it's great to have references so you can make that a part of your career portfolio. So that's something that I wish I did more of when I was going through some of these jobs that I had. I wish I got more references. If you have a great relationship with your boss and your colleagues, and that is an organization or a business that you can see yourself having some sort of lifelong relationship with, stay in contact, keep a reference list. That's also important as far as your career portfolio goes. So I'd say that as well. And yeah, so just figure out what fulfills you and really look into that as far as making that a part of your career. And don't let anyone pressure you into doing anything that you don't want to do, because at the end of the day, it's your life and you have to get up. You have to be the one getting up out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning and dragging your body to your, through the motions to go to a job that you may not like. And that is just not, that's just not where it's at. What was your other question?
Just to offer parting remarks as we close out the section. And I just want to thank you so much for your time and being a part of Let's Talk Student Success with CDH Education, Inc. Thank you so much. So if you'll offer parting remarks to the audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my parting remark is that no one truly knows what they're doing just yet. So don't look at other people and think that they have it all figured out, because even the person that looks like they have it all figured out, they're still learning, they're still growing, they're still going through the same thing called life that we're all trying to get through. So don't beat yourself up about as I said, choosing a path that you're not quite feeling like it's for you. Just make sure that whatever you do is something that makes you happy, is something that makes you fulfilled, because you have to live with you and we're all figuring it out. So just be mindful of that. I wish somebody had told me that when I was younger, that we're all figuring it out. So that's the parting remark that I'll leave you guys with. We're all figuring it out. We're all trying to get our stuff together, and we're all trying to strive for our own happiness. So don't let anyone intimidate you or make you feel less than. You're going to figure it out eventually, and honestly, it's more important that you go through the process. Every single experience that you have is going to bring you closer to where you need to be. So just trust the process.
Wow.
And that's it.
What a wise closing remark coming from 25-year-old Davinia Osborne. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. It's nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. In this segment, you'll meet Dr. Ruth Pacheco. Ruth is the Executive Director of Integrated Industry Partnerships and Career Readiness at Florida International University in Miami, Florida. Previously, she served as Director of Continuing Education at Barry University in Miami. Now, let's hear Ruth's story from Chicago to Puerto Rico to South Florida. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. And so I'd like to ask you, if you would, to tell the audience a little bit about your background.
Yes, certainly. I was born in Chicago, and when I was 7 years old, my parents moved back to Puerto Rico, where they were from. And I had the opportunity to go to school um, in both Chicago and Puerto Rico. In my high school, I went back to Chicago, then I went back to Puerto Rico. So I started my college career attending University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And at that point, I came to Florida on spring break, actually, and fell in love with Florida and decided to continue my college career here. I had a couple of stopping out and going back to school while I was trying to attain my degrees, and I am have been working in higher education, helping students who sometimes get lost, as I was lost at some point, to attain their aspirations. So I am currently at Florida International University, where I help students prepare to be career ready and to be able to succeed in their career goals. So I am excited to be here this morning.
Thank you so much. Now tell us about your decision. What was that decision that made you say, I can get to college, I can go?
That's a great question, Carol. And I'll tell you that I always loved learning. As a child, I really was an avid reader, loved school, and was quite good at it. So I certainly, as I was counseled by people in school as well as people in my family, I really was eager to go to college. But I'll tell you that what I really, if I could share with students today, even though I wanted to go to school, I loved the idea of learning. I started school and then I had some challenges. So I just want to encourage anyone who might be teetering between being in college or stopping out, that it's okay to have questions. And I think through that journey, what I learned, Carol, was that I needed to go to college for me, that was the development that I needed so that I could make my dreams become a reality. So that is how I hope I answered your question. I decided early, but then in the middle, I was hesitant. And I had to accept that, yes, it's hard work. And yes, there was a lot of other things in life that were seeming to get in the way, but that I could, in fact, pursue my dream. And it was what I was doing for me.
Yes, you certainly did answer the question, Ruth. But were you confident when you first started? Were you confident or were you filled with doubts or was there something in between?
Well, I was confident when I was starting, but after I started, then my confidence started dropping. It was a different environment. I started out at a very big university. There was not a lot of people that looked like me. So I certainly, my confidence started slipping. And that's when I decided to stop out, thinking that maybe college was not for me. So along the way, I had to really come to understand that I could do this and that it was really what I was doing to invest in my dream.
Wow, that's extremely interesting. So you stopped out, but you realized that you were investing in yourself. So what made you decide to go back, Ruth, after the stop out?
It was exactly that who was I kidding? I'm not doing this for anybody else because sometimes when you're young you have a lot of people that with all good desires and intentions, they want to tell you what to do. They want to counsel you because they have learned some things in life, right? But when you're young, you start resenting all those voices. So I had to really, at some point, I felt like everybody was telling me what to do. And I remember precisely the day I looked at myself in the mirror and I was working as a secretary. And I said, if I don't do this, if I don't go back to school, this is going to be the rest of my life. And and I knew that that's not what I wanted for me. Not that there was anything intrinsically wrong with that profession, but that I wanted more.
That
And
you
that's what
wanted,
made it more.
that you
Yes.
wanted more. That's powerful. And so, Ruth, what would you tell your younger self? As you think about that first year in college, what would you go back and tell your younger self during that first year of college?
I would tell my younger self, you have everything that you need to be successful inside of you. And I would tell myself not to give up and not be afraid, because I think, especially when you're starting something new and it's uncomfortable, you start doubting, and that's where the confidence starts slipping. So I would tell myself to do it afraid.
Do it afraid. Excellent. And then what would you have done differently during your first year of college, Ruth?
I have to say that during my first year of college, I would have gone back and reached out to people on campus who had shown me interest in my success, and talk to them. And there was, for example, an organization on campus called La Casa Cultural Latina, and it was a place that I really felt appreciated and I felt comfortable with. But when I started having fears of not belonging, I didn't go to the people there and ask for help. And I think that was my biggest mistake, because had I done that, there was, I'm sure, professionals in higher education that would have helped me through that difficult time.
And I do think the translation, what is that? The door for Latinas, or a place for
The
Latinas,
house,
the
yes.
house of Latina. And so there were places that you could have gone to, but you didn't necessarily choose to do it during that first year.
I didn't make the connection. It was not that I was embarrassed. And I think I didn't go out to those support groups. And I would recommend students, look at your campus, look at the different student groups, the different opportunities and programs, and talk to the people that are working in those programs. They have a heart for students, and they're going to help you.
Mm. Well, thank you for that. Now we have two more questions. The first question is, considering the obstacles that today's college students face, and Ruth, especially as we are transitioning, hopefully beyond COVID, give 3 tips to students who are currently thinking about beginning their first year in college.
The first tip is that, and I think, I always want to think about the outcome. And I think that a lot of times students vacillate between starting. And I would tell you that in 33 years that I have had the pleasure and blessing of working in higher ed, I have never, ever heard a student tell me, I am so sorry that I completed my degree.
Hmm.
But I have seen so many that have started and stopped out and lived to regret it. So I would tell you, just do it afraid. I think that is so important. And second, look for people on campus that are willing to help you. Ask questions. There are so many resources on campus to help you learn how to apply, how to get your financial aid, and find money to go to college. And third, I would say, work at it. It's going to be about discipline and putting the big rocks. And if you put in the work and you access the services and the support on campus and you stay focused on your goal, you're going to get there. Be patient. Those are my 3 nuggets of advice.
Thank you. Finally, as we close this segment, and thank you so much for coming today to talk Let's Talk Student Success. You've offered some valuable nuggets. And so, in parting, what would you say in closing?
In closing, I want to really underline for students that are thinking about going to college or not, that when you start a college journey, you're investing in yourself. And there's so many things that through our lives we're going to invest in, meaning that you're going to put, money and sweat and tears, and the return may not be there. And I'll give you a very practical example. We invest and we buy a car. After 4 or 5 years, the car loses value. But when you invest in your education, No one can take that away from you. That will be with you forever, wherever you go. It does not depreciate. And that, I think you have to really keep your eyes on the prize, on the future, and what it means to have a college degree. I haven't met, as I said, one student that has ever told me, I regret my degree. On the contrary, it's always like it was hard. There were times I didn't know if I can make it, but I am so grateful.
Well, thank you so much for those nuggets and those wise words. Thank you very much, Dr. Ruth Pacheco, for your time.
Thank you, Carol, for the opportunity. It's great talking to you this morning.
Take good care.
You
Bye-bye
too.
now. Thank you for taking the time to tune in to Let's Talk Student Success. In this, our very first episode, you heard from 3 very dynamic, different people as they shared their journey to beginning college. The tips and parting remarks offered a resounding theme from all 3 interviews. And I would say, first, believe in yourself, and then choose to persevere, and then finally, take advantage of college resources, especially those resources that provide advising and guidance. So we're now at the end of episode 1. We hope that this episode provided strategies for success to make the decision to begin your college journey, whichever route you choose to take. See you in our next episode of Let's Talk Student Success. This is Carol Hogret.